Good evening and welcome to the April 26th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome to those that have kind of tuned in and those that are here. We are moving forward with the agenda here. The first thing on the agenda is a public hearing that we've scheduled for this evening, which is to receive comment regarding the proposed amendment to Zoning Ordinance Article 2, Section 2.08, Article 3, Section 3.03, Article 8, Section 8.01, Article 9, Section 9.02, Article 10, Section 10.01, and Article 12, Section 12.01. So I would call to order the public hearing. Lee J., you have, I guess, the latest proposal for all of this, right? I do. So if you want to give us a kind of an overview, that way everybody understands. This is, so everybody knows this has been going around for some time. We've been a couple, 3 years maybe, looking at doing something with Section 2.08. So we think that we're in the at the end of the runway here, but we'll find out, I guess, after tonight. So why don't you go ahead, Lee J.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I hope we're there. I think we're there. I have a presentation for you tonight. You had requested that. First, let me just indicate that you did go through a lot of various sections of the ordinance that need to be changed. 2.08, as we know it, is the primary change that's needed. The other sections, 8.01, 902, 1001, and 1201, are more housekeeping that go along with this so that we make sure that the proper sections of the ordinance are cited and not cited, which are currently cited, and they don't work anymore so under this proposal. So I just wanted to make sure there was an understanding that many of those are little housekeeping items of just deleting a word here or there to clean that up. Under 2.08, as we know, the issue has been that the planning board has been granting what some people call variances or waivers to setbacks, which the town's attorney has suggested for some time that we no longer do that, that's either a Board of Appeals process or it's some other process. Well, I think what I've been able to come up with for what will assist 99.9% of the properties in town would be an other process, and that would be simply a permit that could be issued by the code enforcement officer, provided the setbacks can be met. And so one of the exercises that I've done, two of them are actually true life exercises, and that's what I'm going to show tonight. But I have five properties that we've chosen. Some of them were fairly difficult, some of them are pretty easy, but the setback issue works for all of them. So let me try to work through this with you. This property is a real-life situation. Someone came in for a building permit to add this addition onto this home. Now on this property, this dashed line here would be the setback, the building envelope under normal circumstances. And you can see where the house was built. It was built way before zoning was in existence, and so therefore they didn't meet any setback requirements. So this is the AR zone, and the only setback that would be affected in this particular situation would be the front yard setback. And you do have two front yard setbacks. You have Buxton Road and you have Partridge Road. And so under this scenario, what we do is look at the average depth of the lot, which is 0 at one point.
Is that Buxton Road or Townhouse Road?
Well, I'm going on what the surveyor put on there, and he's saying Buxton Road, so.
I've never heard it called that.
It's the same road.
Okay.
So we're looking at basically a 0 point here, and then this here of 280
280, I got it right here, 233 feet, excuse me. So the average depth is 116 feet. And then you take 25% of the average depth of the lot to get your setback, which comes out to 29 feet. So under this current scenario, the way they proposed it, oh darn, your button stopped working. The setback proposed along Partridge Road in the front there is currently 26 feet. So they'd have to slide that back three feet. Why, thank you, sir. This setback as proposed is currently at 26 feet. So under the new scenario, they'd have to slide it back 3 feet. And on the other side, they're showing 34 feet. So sliding it back 3 feet, they'd be able to meet the 29-foot setback on both road frontages. So there'd be no issue, and that could be issued a building permit under that scenario. Go ahead, Dave.
Question before
Yeah.
you leave that?
Yes.
Whereas in the conventional, it would have to be in the little triangle, right?
Yes, it would have to meet a front yard setback in both cases of 75 feet. And under the proposed ordinance, it would only have to be 29 feet. Okay. Another property in the F&A zone, which is a 5-acre zone. And this lot is 200 by 150, very small lot. Gentleman came in looking for a building permit to add a barn to an existing home in that area. And under the current scenario, current zoning, he'd need a front yard setback of 100 feet, and the lot's only 150. 50-foot rear yard, which means basically can't do it, and 2 side yards of 50 feet. And so when you start using the 25% of the average depth of the lot, all of a sudden the front yard setback becomes 37 feet and the rear yard becomes 25 feet. And then under the having the front being 200 feet or thereabouts, and needing to meet the side yards of 1 foot for every 5 feet over 50 feet, that reduces the side yard to 25 feet. Glenn has spoken with this gentleman and showed him what the setback requirements would be if this proposal were to go through, and he says he can put his addition on meeting those setbacks. So this would be, again, another real-life situation where someone is seeking a building permit at this time, and these 2 scenarios would work for both of these people. Go ahead, David. I picked out another property right here. The major issue is that this property only has 85 feet of frontage, and you're in the A&R zone, which requires side yard setbacks of 35 feet. Under the proposed scenario of 1 foot for every 5 feet over 50 feet, plus the 5 feet, would require a 12-foot setback, rather than 35, which 35 and 35 is 70, leaves you a 15-foot envelope on the side yards to build. This way you've got much greater ability to build something. Go ahead, David. This property right here in the village, we would assume a 40,000 foot lot size requirement for worst case scenario in this situation. I'm going to pay attention again here to the front yard depth setback as to where the house could be placed. Because it's only 168 feet in depth. So under the 25% scenario, the front yard drops from a 50-foot setback to a 42-foot setback. Saves the person 6 feet in that situation. Go ahead, David. Okay, we got twofer on this one. 2 lots side by side. Again, village zone, assuming a 40,000 square foot lot requirement. Front yard again is 50. Sides in this case would be 20. We'll focus on the sides because that's where the issue is here. Because the front yard, the width of the lot's 55 feet, 1 foot for every 5 feet over 50 feet, plus the 5 foot. They'd only need a 6-foot side yard, where under the current zoning they would be required 20-foot side yard. And on lot 22, right next door, it's the same situation. We can focus on the side. Again, because it's under 50 foot in width and it's only 42 feet, they'd have to meet the minimum setback of 5 feet. This case, the lot is also 85 feet deep, so we take the 25%, and so the front yard setback would be 21 feet versus 50 feet. So there's a number of cases where we've applied the proposal to a number of non-conforming lots that are much smaller than what the zoning would allow, and in all cases, we're able to make it work.
Okay. Any questions of Lee J. From the board? Any input from public?
We'll get those lights back on.
Doug?
Well, as you know, I've been opposed to this from the beginning because you're just putting another Band-Aid on without starting at the beginning of the ordinance and going through it. This, you know, when we set this zoning ordinance up, we headed it, and to my knowledge, we've never allowed anything to be built closer than 10 feet to the property line, 20 feet between two structures. I'm surprised the fire department isn't here. They raised Cain about it at the time where they didn't want structures on two separate lots so close that if you put a fence up on your property line, you couldn't get between the two properties. You couldn't get between the fence, and having a 5-foot setback is less setback than has ever been allowed since zoning started, because before zoning actually 7 feet was a standard for that you could come. So two houses had to be, or two buildings had to be 14 feet apart. Also, if you read the letter from Ken Cole, if you go into the Bob Ryder file, you'll find that he ruled on Lake Arrowhead that the town of Waterboro ordinance does not require frontage on two roads, even if it's on a corner lot. It calls one frontage and one side setback. This again contradicts what our attorney has told us. So while this probably works as good as anything that comes up, it still doesn't maintain, you know, a minimum of 20 feet between two buildings, and it doesn't take care of the change in the zoning ordinance that I've seen so far that says that the zoning ordinance requires front yard setback on two sides. So I think that those are two issues. And again, I think that keep putting these Band-Aids on the zoning ordinance without rewriting the zoning ordinance is the wrong thing to do. We've gone through the process of many years and didn't get it done, and now we're starting again with the same thing where we're just putting Band-Aids on an old wound and we're not, you know, fixing the wound correctly. Thank you.
Tim?
Tim Neal, Zoning Board of Appeals. Doug actually just confirmed something that I thought was true, but I wasn't sure enough to say it, is that we've never gone below 10 feet. And I'm sure he's had the same situation. We've had people plead with us to go below that setback. And we've held that standard, always. And it's, you know, it's kind of a slap in the face to people that have built to that standard that now, you know, you can go below that. I mean, the rest of the ordinance, it sounds pretty good to me, but I think as far as Waterboro goes, I think that minimum side setback of 10 feet is a good idea. I'd like to see that changed.
Maybe I get confused on that, if you can clear it up. I thought you said it was, the minimum was 7 feet.
Before zoning.
For 14.
But since we've had zoning, we've never gone below 10 feet. And we had an elderly gentleman up the road on the
Before
left.
zoning, it was 7
Yeah.
foot, and after zoning, it was 10. Okay.
And
Right.
we've had people that were really distressed. And, you know, the board held firm to that minimum size setback. And I think that should be a minimum 10 feet. Thank you.
Doug?
I'd just like to make one other point. During my tenure on the board, when we went down to 10 feet, we required a letter from the abutter that they had no objections to this. They gave because it did reduce the setback from whatever it was. to 10 feet. The only time that our ordinance allows you to go to 10 feet is if you have a pre-existing lot with a building on it that was built prior to zoning. At that point, you can add on to the existing structure to within 10 feet of the abutting property without permission of the abutter. But in no case can you get a building closer than 20 feet to the adjacent building. So there's been several times that people have gone. I've never seen anybody not come forward with a signed paper, and I don't know if that stopped after I got off the board or not, but we held a clear minimum, and that's been for years. I do not know of anything that's gone closer than 10 feet to a property line. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? On the board?
Lee J, is there, with the way this ordinance is written, how close could two structures actually be to each other?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things that's in here for that, and Doug certainly brought it up previously, because there is a section of the ordinance in the table where the setbacks are established for the zone that says that you can't be, I'll find it just to confirm it, but it can't be any closer than 10 feet, I believe is what he said, which would be a 20-foot separation.
Bottom of that table, isn't it?
Yeah, I just got to get to the table. So I have the exact wording. Well, it's in my amendment as well, so. Okay, so at the bottom of 3.03, it says, in no case where structures are in existence at the time of the enactment of this ordinance, additions may be made to within 10 feet of the side or rear lot line, but in no case should the building on one lot be closer than 20 feet to a building or an abutting lot. And so what I've suggested doing to change that to fit the setback requirements that would be proposed here is to say that that at no time the enactment of this ordinance additions may be made to within 5 feet of the side or rear lot lines, but in no case unless the building on one lot be closer than 10 feet to a building on an abutting lot, unless the building code directs otherwise. So if there's another code, like the 101 Life Safety Code, or the building code itself says you have to have a 20-foot minimum separation between buildings, then you're going to have a 20-foot minimum separation from buildings. What this does, though, is it gives maximum relief to any property owner. I did it during the previous exercise for you, and I couldn't put it up there with a real-life situation. I apologize. But the other thing that we talked about is that anybody that's got a setback, a existing home with a setback that's non-conforming, can do an expansion of that property along that existing fascia of the building, so that they don't have to meet any kind of a greater setback from where their current building is established.
Okay. Any other questions?
I might also, if I may,
Yeah.
I completely agree with Doug on the ordinance. I think during the last presentation that I did to you folks, I also put up a whole list of items that need to be addressed, and he's correct. We are patchworking it right now. It's because these issues are before us and we're trying to address them, but in the big plan, there's certainly the plan that I put in front of you folks was to really go through the ordinance and rewrite the whole thing so that it makes a lot more sense. It needs a lot of updating, and that's clearly on the agenda.
After July 1st.
After July 1st.
Anybody else? All right.
So is there a legitimate purpose then for us to even change this right now? If we're gonna rewrite it, is there some compelling reason that we should do this on a temporary basis? 'Cause that's what it seems like it'll be, is temporary.
I don't think this is temporary. I think that, at least from my perspective, I think that, well, let me say a couple of things. First, I'm showing that this kind of a proposal works under any scenario for just about any property out there. And I think no matter what we do to the rest of the ordinance, this standard can work and should apply. But also, I'm the type of person that if something doesn't work after we've tried it, and I don't mean once, but 2, 3, 4 times, and we keep finding a problem, then we need to come back and make some sort of an adjustment to the wording. The zoning ordinance should never be set in stone and stagnant. We should be able to adjust it as it needs to be in order to assist people being able to get what they need to get done. So even after a rewrite's done, I mean, there may be other amendments or touches to the ordinance down the road that would need to be adjusted because it's not working correctly. And the only way we're going to know if it works is if we apply it.
Remember the driving reason for this, which started 2-3 years ago, was a drive-by, or certainly a suggestion by the town's attorney to eliminate the planning board issuance of variances. And we've never been challenged on it, but if we were challenged on it, it's probably a good probability that we would lose that. And it's not just this current law firm that we've been with. This goes back many, many, many years. We've chosen not to change it, but here we are, and I think, the planning board worked diligently to try to come up with something, and I think their desire at this point is that we want to be out of the business of issuing variances, and I think this was a move in the right direction, and that's kind of where we are now. So is there a pending dramatic need for let's go change it, other than what legal team has suggested? But I do think that, if it gets changed, it's going to get folded into, and we all saw Lee J's list, and I think we're all certainly aware of, the planning board has got a huge list of actions that they're going to have to take, and they're going to take the list down, one at a time, basically. But it probably should be done in a whole rewrite. But I'm not opposed to moving forward with this, because I think we've really been. This is kind of somewhat of an embarrassment that we've been this long trying to get this done. So. Gary,
I had a question about 10. 5 feet is very accommodating, extremely accommodating. What do you think 10 does to this concept? Less accommodating, I know.
It could work. I think the only areas that you may run into a problem where it still doesn't work might be in the village areas, but unless, again, I can see something real life situation out there that, oh geez, we're closer to the line, or, don't forget that this setback also, and maybe 10 is where we go. I'm fine adjusting that. Is for new structures, because anything that's existing out there would be allowed to do an expansion along their existing fascia. So this would only goes to help anybody that's putting a new structure on a non-conforming lot or an undersized lot in many of these cases, so that it makes it fit. But if you folks want to go to 10, I can be flexible and go to 10.
I think I asked this the last time. I don't remember the answer. But coming up with average setbacks. You have a maximum and a minimum, and take the 2 and divide it by 2. That's great. However, you have a non-linear line. You could be into doing calculus problem here. So how do you?
but it's still math, simple math, right? It's still only you're
Not
taking.
if you have a
Well, I understand, but you're taking a slice out of the lot, right?
Yeah, when it comes to that, if it like the step situation that I showed a number of meetings ago, you're going to average the depth based on where it is. Some of it may take a little math, but I think for the most part, most of these lots have straight lines or triangular lines that aren't. What's the word, obtruse? Is that the right word for that, that we're going to run into that problem. I mean, we may. There's never a hard and fast solution that's going to work for every single situation. But if we run into that kind of a problem, we do have the Board of Appeals available for someone to seek a variance based on the fact that they can't do it under the ordinance. I think this makes it, in my estimation, this makes it easier for people to be able to go to the Board of Appeals if they need to and show a true hardship, because if they can't get a setback to work under this situation, then they probably do have a true hardship.
Tim, you had something?
That answered my question. Thank you.
Doug?
I don't think it would be too unreasonable to have a 10-foot setback and have one that could be reduced with written permission from the abutter of the state that they would stay further away from their property line so that we never got closer than two buildings. The other point I wanted to bring up, this is a fairly important thing to a lot of people in town. And here we are with this agenda, public hearing tonight, and look around. How many people do you see here? But we never saw anything advertised out here on this board out front that said anything about a public hearing tonight. Yes, people can look onto that box that you all got in front of you, and they can see that, but how many people check on there to see what's on the agenda for the town of Waterboro Board of Selectmen? We don't have an electronic sign out here because the board in their wisdom has chosen not to appropriate the money for it. And we don't even have anybody that puts it up on the sign out here that says, public hearing tonight to discuss changes to the Waterboro Zoning Ordinance. It's not front page in the bit of a journal or the Portland Press or anything, so it's not on the front of the Smart Shopper or the Reporter. I think that there are a lot of people that have interest in this that are not here because they don't know about it. A tremendous amount of people. I don't know that that's true, but the turnout here tonight certainly shows you that there's a lot of people that evidently don't know anything about it. Thank you.
Anything else, folks? No, we'll call this public hearing closed. Next thing on the agenda is discuss and vote on the approval of this proposal. So what's the board's pleasure?
I'm not comfortable with the 5 foot. I think if we went to 10 foot, I would be in favor of this, but I think 5 feet is I think that's too close. I'm thinking, I'm 5'5", and, I could lay between the buildings. That's...
Okay. Anything else? Well, let me ask this. Is there an interest in moving to making a motion, I guess?
If we go to 10 feet, we have to have another public hearing.
We should.
Well, if I may, I've got a...
Yeah, changes it significantly.
I guess I don't know how you folks do it because I haven't been with you that long, but the other way you could do it is the only thing that affects the 5 foot setback issue is the amendment in 3.03, which the amendment for 3.03, which is the wording that I read to you that discussed dropping the setback.
So you're suggesting we could approve everything except for section 303 and the 10 feet would stay?
Correct.
The 10 and the 20 would stay in
Correct.
based on the current zoning?
Correct.
Yeah, but in your side yard requirements, you've got 5 feet listed in 208, section 1.
Well, no, the setback. For 5 feet.
In your side yard requirements.
Yep.
Yep, you're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. So,
So with the lack of a motion, I would suggest that
I can change
Let me
that.
see if I can get at least a head nod and consensus here. If we rework it so that it's a 10-20 stays in place, do we bring it back to another public hearing?
Yes.
Yes.
To be honest with you, I think that's about one of the only things that I really truly understand is having the minimum of a 20-foot distance between two structures. So you can get, if you need to get in between there, you can get in between. So that makes sense to me. So when I see something that defines that, absolutely.
All right, so I think the message to Gary and Lee J is that seems to be the preference. It is a significant change to the wording other than, so we should come back for another public hearing.
Certainly, I can make the change to 10 feet and get rid of the proposed language in 3.03.
Okay?
Easy enough.
I'm sorry.
Go.
Do we have time to do that? Do that 2 weeks from today?
Be cutting it pretty close,
So I'll do it.
because it's gonna be, no, it wouldn't work, because zoning amendments have to be 10 days, not 7.
Okay, so do it for the
Day 24.
May 24th. Okay?
Very good.
Might I suggest that we take a stronger effort at publicizing what this hearing is going to be about?
We do a lot now.
I know what Doug's saying, but I think it's a poor argument for the town because we typically have this apathetic appearance on any of our proposed ordinances unless it's something that's of such magnitude that somehow people find out about it. I mean, somebody makes up a flyer and sends it to every mailbox in town, and so in the past we've just had issues no matter what we did, because we put it, you can be put on a mailing list for email, you can have it through the newspaper.
It's posted probably
It's posted.
in all the post offices.
Yeah, and still people, they just don't take the time to come, and when they do find it's going to affect them, they come in and complain because nobody ever told them. But admittedly, the last time, I think the lady said, well, I just didn't look around, and it's something we've been working on for 2 years. And how long we've been working on the zoning ordinance. It's quite a long time, and a lot of effort's been put into it. I mean, you've got to be living in a vacuum somewhere in one of the old 1950s bomb shelters to not know that something's going on. I mean,
So let's take I think we make sure that we post in all the appropriate places. We can certainly put it on the sign for those portions of the people that happen to drive down Townhouse Road. And we'll go from there. But I think that, other than, like you said, putting a postcard out that has all misinformation on it so you can fill the room.
Yeah, it's a very specific piece, and there's not a lot of people who are going to be interested or affected by it.
Is your time constraints because you plan to put this before the town meeting? Is that what your time constraints are?
No.
No. Time constraint is how many days it has to be posted.
Before 2 weeks from tonight.
Before 2 weeks from tonight.
That's the tough part.
So it doesn't matter if it's 2 weeks, if you meet 2 weeks from tonight, or it's a month from tonight, it's just that you want to do it in 2 weeks because, right?
Well,
We'd like to, but we really can't. You can elaborate on that better.
well, you get 10
No, I wondered if it was the town meeting constraint because you do have the,
Be nice to wrap it up.
yeah, and you put the 10 feet in there, or the 20 feet, and you also could put something in there that said that if the abutter signed a waiver,
you
then
go
they,
less than that.
they could go less than that, okay?
That was always a condition that the planning board had.
We always had that
It
for
wasn't
condition.
written in the zoning ordinance, it was a condition that because they came before you, because they had a substandard lot, that was a condition that the planning board made, right? Go get the neighbor to give us a letter and we can go closer, right?
In my tenure, we never allowed anybody closer than 10 feet. But, you know, I think if you do that, you've probably got something that, you know, isn't the best thing in the world, but something's got to change, so it could probably work.
But are we creating problems when we do that letter when the ownership changes on the abutter? I mean, that's a red flag for me.
I'm not interested in getting.
restriction.
I'm not interested in getting a letter from an abutter. I think you have your rules of 10 and 20, and that's the rules.
Christina?
Mr. Chairman, just as a technicality, can we get a vote on the scheduling of a public hearing?
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to.
I would make a motion that we hold a second public hearing on May 24th with the changes that we've asked for this evening.
I'll second that.
Any discussions on that motion? All those in favor? All right. So we'll bring it back on the 24th, and appreciate the input from the folks that were here tonight. And we'll move on to the rest of the agenda here. So announcements.
Thank you.
Do you have any announcements from the board? Sensing none, additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to request item be deleted from new business. It was an item that I had originally asked be put on the agenda, and I have since had a lengthy discussion with the head of the emergency medical technicians and so forth, and I think it's in the best interest to have that removed at this time, and that's item D under 10 new business.
Okay. Any objections to deleting that? Sensing that none, will delete item E under new business.
D.
D is in David.
D is in David.
I'm sorry, D is in David. It didn't have a box next to it, so I was a little confused. And Gary, I'll let you explain. We also need to add an item to new business, and I'll let Gary explain that.
Last Friday was not a fun day in municipal government because the bond council for a salt shed and these 3 vehicles that we want to buy said you really didn't do a proper job with your language in your articles in June of 2015 for actually borrowing money on a loan. I guess part of the reason is we've leased so many things over the years is you don't have to jump through these hoops to this degree. This article before you that I think everybody has up, Gordon, you have one in front of you there also. And this,
So we don't need to go through the total article now.
Yeah,
We just
yeah.
need to make everybody aware that this is what we're going to add to the agenda.
right. This Article 41 is properly authorizing the borrowing of money. It's not raising and appropriating new funds, it's just authorization to borrow.
So I would entertain a motion to add this to the
So moved.
agenda item, last item under new business, which would
The 10I.
be 10I.
Well,
Okay?
So
Do I have a
moved.
second?
Second.
Moved, seconded by John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Do we have to have another vote to pay this loan after, or is that
No,
included in this
We've
language?
already done that.
We'll discuss this when this comes up.
Okay,
Okay? We're just adding it to the agenda right now.
okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Chairman, who seconded that, please?
John Gale. Selectman Gale. Okay? Now we'll get going here. Keep scrolling that screen. I'm going to go blind. We have no appointments this evening. Hearing of the delegation. Any public comment? Sensing none. Correspondence, we have treasurer's report, Senator Woodson's newsletter, the Eco-Main recycling reports, RSU 57, May 17th budget meeting notice, proposed budget info, and the town of Alfred's letter, whereby they are withdrawing from the 12-town group. And those are available here for anybody that would like to have a copy and read. You can see Christina. Item 9, reports and staff initiatives, Selectmen reports. Gordon, anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to, on behalf of the board, congratulate a local resident and businessman as having been selected by USA Today as the Coach of the Year, and that Chris Burnett, for his coaching of the M.R.S.A varsity basketball team, and also one of the players, Mr. Ripley, for being selected as a second team by USA Today. I think that's quite an accomplishment for both, you know, particularly coming from a small town, you know, like this, that generally isn't what might be termed a powerhouse, you know, in a number of sports, just because of the number of students that there are. So I think this is a pretty darn good achievement by the coach and the team, and the support that all the parents and well-wishers gave, because these gyms were packed, you know, for this. So I think it was, you know, it really did the town some good on this, and I would commend them.
Okay. Anything else, Gordon?
No?
John, anything? Tammy Jo?
Nope.
The only thing I have is that Gary attended the Eco-Maine meeting for me, so I'll turn everything over to you here.
Well, on that, the Eco-Maine is going to venture into the food waste attempt to recycle. Which was explained at that meeting. They're going to use a third-party vendor to pick up the bags of food waste that can be dropped off at Eco-Maine by other collectors, people that just take them there. Scarborough is collecting on roadside in 3 places in Scarborough now for about a 55-gallon drum of food waste, so we'll see where that goes. Certainly would be good to get that out of the burn pile before we burn trash to make power. I'll be brief tonight. We have other business here. Salt shed status, we're going to close on the loan tomorrow. I have one document in here for a selectman to sign. This is just closing papers. It doesn't require a vote because you folks were on the warrant last June for that instead of myself. So the one document to sign, another one for Dennis to sign. Nomination papers for school board selectmen and water district are due back here by 5 p.m. Monday. Even though town hall is closed that day, there will be up to 4 of us in the building, as there are every Monday, and we will have a sign on the door, and we'll be here until 5 to collect papers. So we need to schedule a public hearing for the budget and the second deputy referendum question, and that could be May 10th or 24th. Old Home Days is back for July 8th and 9th. Friday night, the 8th, will be a talent show. Saturday will be the usual rides, vendors, and fireworks that evening. It is going to be at the middle school. And the Old Home Days Committee is working hard to fit all that in there. They're still in discussions with the Sheriff's Office and the Fire Chief. They had a walkthrough today to try and decide what the parade route was going to be, and I don't know the outcome of that. The warrant as it reads now in terms of an election and town meeting location, the Board of Selectmen wants to change so that we have town meeting on Saturday and the election the prior Tuesday in the same place, and I fully support that. The warrant as it reads now is the same as in the past. We would go to M.R.S.A East for the Tuesday town meeting, and we would go to M.R.S.A Middle School for the Saturday, Tuesday election, and the Saturday town meeting would be at the middle school. We can change that and go over to M.R.S.A East this spring if we want to. There's time to do that. I think it might be better to do it this fall. We have more time to alert people. We do have good signage so that everybody will be directed that day to wherever we go. But I picked M.R.S.A East as my recommendation because it gets in the way of fewer students if you're at M.R.S.A East, because the gym and or the cafeteria at the middle school for a Tuesday in either June or November is going to be used by the students. So that was the rationale for my thinking there. From Julie, our books are reconciled. The preliminary audit prep work will begin with Chris here from May 25 to 27. Which is good news, and Doug informs me that the plow trucks were out starting at noon today, and obviously there were a lot of people off the road because they have a lead foot and they were going too fast. But other than that, that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Sensing none, let's move on to new business. Discuss vote on a board committee appointment. What is your pleasure?
I would make a motion to appoint Kayla Mathorn to the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We also have a resignation from a board member. What is the board's pleasure with the resignation?
I would move that we accept, with regret, the resignation of David Barker from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Then moved and seconded that we accept Mr. Barker's resignation with regrets. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Discuss vote to approve a quitclaim deed. In your packet is the information on the quitclaim deed. What is your pleasure?
Now, is this simply matured liens that were paid?
I'm told he refinanced and paid everything off.
I would make a motion to approve the quitclaim deed.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item D has been removed. Item E, discuss vote to sign RSU 57 budget validation referendum warrant and notice of elections. This is the warrant that gets posted. It's not an endorsement of the budget. It is a requirement that it gets posted by with the signatures of the Board of Selectmen.
I will move that we sign this warrant.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Sensing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item F, discuss the vote to approve the language for the June 14th, 2016 referendum election question. Shall the town enter into a contract with the York County Sheriff's Office to provide a second contract deputy for a full-time Waterboro patrol at a cost not to exceed $110,000?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded on the language. Is everybody all set with that? Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So that's the referendum question, and just so that everybody knows, the referendum question will be on the ballot. However, the funding of that will still have to take place at town meeting on Saturday. So if we have a vote in the affirmative on Tuesday, we can, it will have to be funded on Saturday at the town meeting. That could be defeated, or it could be approved, but just so that everybody doesn't get the impression that the minute that this gets approved, that it's an automatic that will happen, so let's go to town meeting. Okay? On the other side of that, if it gets defeated Tuesday, it'll be removed from the town meeting warrant on the floor. Okay? All right. Item G, discuss and vote to schedule a public hearing to hear comments regarding proposed amendments to the Zoning Ordinance Article 7, Section 703, campground developments. So what's your pleasure for a hearing? You already got one for the 24th?
Can we get two of them in there?
We get the dates.
We got one for the 24th, but we also have, as Gary suggests, we have, I guess we could do the warrant on May 10th.
Sure.
Right? And the 24th, we've got the 2.08, so I think that's getting close. So,
I think the campground ordinance too will probably get a lot of comment. I think that one will see a lot of public participation and a lot of comment. So I think we need to be cautious of making sure that we're scheduling that on an evening where we're not too full.
That our agenda is light, yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to have that in this facility? I mean, the last time David did a great job with speakers and the television out in the lobby, and everybody could hear very well. It came off great. But absent that, we overloaded this room, and the front lobby was full to the point where people couldn't get through. So Fire station is a little larger, not a lot. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people that night, to be fair, that were misinformed about what that evening was for. In other words, this is about campground developments in the zoning ordinance. It's not about a particular application for an enlargement expansion of a campground. A lot of people came misinformed that night, and not because the town did anything wrong. Somebody purposely misinformed them. So we're probably going to be fighting some of that again. We'll try and get out in front of this a lot more than we did before to refute that.
So let me ask it, Lee J. We have, I would presume, either yourself or Kurt as chair, or someone from the planning board will present, because it's really their proposal that we're going to review in public.
I would hope someone from the planning board will be there. I will probably present
Okay.
on behalf of the planning board, yes.
Gee, this might be the hot ticket item. We need to get more participation at
Well, that
town
could be.
meeting.
Do it at town meeting. There you go.
So, well, we still have a public hearing, whether we vote on something at the town meeting.
I think you're better off having the public hearing here. I mean, in the attempt to make more room, you're gonna have some people miss it. They're gonna come here and it's nothing.
Because
You're gonna be
somebody,
upset.
somebody.
So I think
moved it
we're
at the
better
last
try and
minute.
squeeze people in here.
And if we publicize the true intent, we may not have as substantial a turnout. There may be some reduction, so.
Well, so is the 24th sufficient? Certainly is from a posting perspective. It's the second meeting of the month.
So then you'd have 2 public hearings that night, right?
Right, but the 208, I think we can get through fairly quickly. I think we're down to 10 feet. Right?
The challenge will be, the room will be perhaps full to overflowing.
Right.
You should do 208 first.
Yep.
Yeah,
So, do I have a motion to run this public hearing on the 24th?
so moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Okay, so the 24th of May, we will hold a public hearing on zoning ordinance Article 7, Section 703, campground developments. And my suggestion is we put together a letter of explanation and send it to the Lake Association, because I think that's where some of the information or misinformation started on the previous one. And we have this, one of our illustrious reporters from the Journal Tribune that will publish that as well. So let's make sure that we get as much information out about what the meeting is about. And it's not that we're going to approve a campground.
To be fair, I don't think the Lake Association officers sent that out.
No, I understand that, but I think...
Because I spoke with several of them and they were not happy.
But if we send it to
Get
the
them
Lake
as spies now to
Association,
find out who did it.
the Lake Association can then go to
Absolutely.
their membership and say, this is what it's about. Okay? Christine?
Did you want to vote to schedule that public hearing on the budget and the referendum question for May 10th?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we need a vote. I think we can do that, right?
You want to just say we'll do it May 10th, both of them?
If everybody's amenable to that, May 10th, we'll do those both. Where are we? Okay, we're set on G. H, discuss change the bylaws of the Board of Selectmen regarding agenda format. As you all know, this current format we've had for many moons, and Gary and I have had some discussion, and I'm trying to remember, somebody else brought it up the other night. Item 7, where we have hearing a delegation, most everybody don't understand what that is, so it's really a public comment section. So I would propose that we change the bylaws and change section 7 from hearing a delegation to public comments.
I think it's a good move. I remember putting in the hearing a delegation that was pretty much tied into the M.R.S.A. D57. So I think the, why disguise it? Public comment.
Right. Everybody good with that? We do need a vote.
I'll move.
Are we outside the agenda if we take a vote? Because it just says discuss, it doesn't say discuss and vote. So do we have to place it on the agenda again to vote, or?
Well, there are bylaws, right?
I don't think that's a stretch. These are your bylaws. You
Yeah.
can change them.
So I think we can,
I don't care how we do it, because we're gonna ultimately make the change, I just wanna make
that's
sure
fine.
that we do
I guess
it.
I would accept the motion based on the
You
fact.
got it.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second
Public
it.
comments.
okay. Any comment, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Starting next meeting, we'll change that. We kind of subvertly put it in there tonight. Anyway, item I is the item that has to be added to the town meeting warrant per our legal counsel, or I should say our bond attorney, right?
Yes.
So a bond counsel who's out of Jensen Baird, so same law firm, just a different player. So I'll let Gary go through the painful explanation of why this has to be done.
Last year, we,
Mr. Chairman, just for some people that come in late and they're looking at the agenda, and I'm sure they don't see an I on there. So just as a matter of explanation, at the outset of the meeting, the chairman on our agenda asked if there's any additions or deletions to the agenda, and this particular thing was added, and which is going to be explained to you now by the town manager, town administrator. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
a year ago, town meeting approved in concept the purchase of a dump truck to save money on the $65,000 we pay annually to rent dump trucks. We also approved the purchase of an ambulance in concept, and we put an estimated annual fee, yearly fee for principal and interest in our budget. So we don't need to raise and appropriate more money for this. It was the borrowing authority that the lawyers have a problem with. The town meeting actually needs to take a specifically worded authorization vote like you see in front of you here, that will properly authorize the loans. So this one article provides that language for the dump truck and the ambulance that were approved in concept last town meeting, and a new loader backhoe that's in the upcoming budget. And if that loader backhoe is also approved at June 18th, then after June 18th, we would close on 3 separate loans for these 3 vehicles. The nice part of this is if we stay with this financial institution, we would get 2.4% for all of these vehicles. If this does not pass, then we would probably be forced to go out and go the leasing authority like we've done for so many years, and it would be at least a 3.25% interest, if not more, from what research I've done. Going down this document, it shows the only bonds outstanding and unpaid are the salt shed one, so bond counsel does not consider our other outstanding debt on leases to be necessary to be put in here, which is why he listed that 700,000 number down below. And then the new numbers for these 3 items down below totaling up 509,471. So since we're within the 60-day window, this does need a unanimous vote, which would be 4-0 here. Unanimous in my book does not mean all 5 members of the board. It means either a 3-0 or 4-0. I would call it a unanimous vote. So I put this as Article 41, just so we didn't have to change all the others. If you wish it to be in another place in the document, we can do that. I'd entertain any questions on that I haven't answered as to why we're doing this.
Yeah, just let me, I think you used the word in concept a couple of times. There was really no concept. We approved purchasing,
That's correct.
okay? So this doesn't change that vote. It just, this gets into whether, if we go the lease route, probably don't need to do any of this.
That's true.
But where we decided to bond them, we have to go through this exercise according to our bond counsel.
Yes.
So that's the difference here, is that it really is a decision for a more favorable financial rate is to go the bond route rather than the lease route. So, but both of those, but the town meeting vote was to approve purchasing of those 2 items. So
Yes.
we're not changing that town meeting vote. All this does is that puts the words in that allows us to bond for those 2 purchases. And in the future, all articles will be correct going in, because we'll cover both bases before we get to the vote at town meeting. on warrant articles, so. It's another one of those, the legal opinions predict or edict what you put in for warrant article language. So,
And it's also
questions?
important to note that we're saving money by doing this, by going to the bond route rather than the lease route, in terms of the amount we have to pay back in interest.
The term is the same. We would have gone a lease route for the same amount of years as what we're going for a bond.
But just at a higher interest rate.
So, what is your pleasure?
I would move that we accept the new language of Article 41 to be inserted into the warrant for presentation at town meeting.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and Gary, you're okay with just putting it as Article 41?
That's what I've done in the draft you have before you, yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, so Article 41, in reference to bonding, will be added to the annual town meeting warrant. Speaking of which, as we go into old business, discuss vote to approve the annual town meeting warrant. We did approve this in principle at our last meeting, knowing full well that there was going to be some, we were moving the approved budget numbers specifically into the warrant. So that has now been done. The language associated with LD1, or the lack of language required for LD1, is now in this, correct? So there is,
Yep, you want to start at the front page? I mean, all these red marks here, and Christina, I would ask her to jump in too. I don't know if you considered your recommendation for Article 3. I mean, in the budget, you approved 2 deputies total there. We didn't know how you wanted your recommendation to read here, but we assume it's in support of the 2nd deputy for Article 3.
why would we put a recommendation on
A
a referendum article? I don't know as we've done that in the past.
People probably want to know what you feel about it. Do you think that's necessary, Christina?
I know it's been done in other communities. They put what the council or
Like
board-
Gorham?
like Gorham, or Falmouth.
But that's on regular articles that go before the floor of the town meeting.
No, on a ballot.
On referendum items
Yeah,
as well?
but it's totally up to you. I don't think you have to have it. There's nothing in the charter, is there?
Yeah, I don't think so, because we're not, that article doesn't spend money. All that article does is either commit, because when we fund this at town meeting,
Right.
That's when your
right,
recommendation
and our recommendation then is
is on here.
already on
Yeah.
the budget,
It is.
so I
So
don't
we'll just
see.
remove that.
Article 4, I would say that we would certainly recommend that it pass. Article 5, same thing. And Article 6 would be the same thing. Other than that, our recommendations are all here, correct?
7.
7?
7, in the computation from last Friday, computing LD1. Our tax levy this time around is going to be less than the amount, which was elevated last year and is elevated every year if you approve the limit extension. So the way I read the law is that we don't have to have a written ballot vote. If folks at town meeting floor want to vote that, that's fine, but I don't think we're going to be needing that limit because we're not exceeding it by the calculations. You can see that up in the actual article, it's $2.72 million, which is the tax levy limit. Crank in all your expenses and your revenues in this formula, and our tax levy down in the explanatory note is $2.3 million. Thereby, it's less than the limit set by the legislation. So if you're not exceeding that limit, you don't have to have a written ballot vote by the voters authorizing exceeding it.
So what are we even voting on this one?
That's when I said you did not require a written ballot vote, but we need to have this in here, I think, to say that we're under.
So if we vote to approve the 2720 limit, is that the limit that is now established for the ensuing, that the limit that we would say for the next year, or, I mean, what does 7 do for us?
What does 2.7 do for us?
No, what does Article 7, pass, fail, do
Oh.
for us? What are
If
we
you-
asking them to do?
Yeah, does that establish a new bottom line LD1 figure?
Yes.
Okay.
Historically, we have not just had a one-time increase if this is approved. I can't remember if that was done before I got here or not, but the language since I've been here has been proper in that you're increasing the limit every year, and you're not just okaying a one-time
But
increase.
the limit is within the guidelines set forth in LD1.
Yes, you actually compute that.
Right.
With the growth factor from the state.
So why wouldn't we still have to have a secret ballot vote?
Simply because you're not exceeding it if this budget passes as is.
So the secret ballot is, we can approve the number, and the secret ballot is not required?
That's the way I read it, yes.
So our recommendation would be that ought to pass, right?
This makes no sense to me.
That doesn't make
No, it
sense to me.
doesn't.
You aren't kidding. The whole thing should go away,
Well,
not legislature should do it.
I'm an advocate of,
I think you keep the article in there, and you don't get rid of the article, because
I think if you.
you just don't know what,
To me, Gary, if you ask the people in the townhouse floor to vote to approve Article 7, and Article 7 is associated with LD1, to me, that mandates that you have to have the secret ballot.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't take a
agree with that,
chance.
too.
No?
Doesn't hurt to do it, I mean, because we're not in violation, and if they,
But if we're not exceeding the LD limit this year, why do we even need this?
Right.
I think you should publicly prove that you don't need it by having it on town meeting floor.
Right, but we don't have to,
Well, why can't
But
you
why
simply have a
exercise-
statement in there that says,
Yeah.
this budget does not exceed, or does not meet the LD1 requirements?
I'm guessing if you read the statute, you better have that on your town meeting warrant too. I'm guessing it would be included in the statute to prove that. Remember, this formula asks you for data that doesn't even exist yet. Nobody's done their 16-17 tax commitment yet. And immediately in the formula, they ask me to use the FY 16-17 tax commitment. The whole thing is flawed from the start. Nobody knows how to figure this.
I know that probably 90,
well, let's
5%
do
of the
this.
town
I
don't
mean,
follow
my recommendation is that we, certainly the board say it ought to pass. I think, let's scrub this down a little bit before we get to town meeting to find out specifically. I mean, we get some opinions here, but if we vote to increase the property tax levy of up to 2.7 million, however, this budget is below that, do we still need a vote? And if we don't need the vote, then I think we cover the article and,
I think a call to
Move on.
municipal would be appropriate, just say,
This is,
no.
I got this from I have this file that thick on this, and that's where I got there, thereby not requiring a written ballot vote, because that's
Okay.
how I interpret what you don't have to do if you don't exceed the limit, so.
all right. Let's leave it the way that it is then, I guess, if you're comfortable with that and we've got MMA backing that up, then let's go forward with it.
I mean, why don't I have, Natalie run her eyes across this again?
Please.
Well, hopefully she runs her eyes over this one better. Never mind.
She's out this week.
Okay. So that's an ought to pass, everybody would agree?
Yeah.
Is that all you want to read there for the moment?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything else?
Yeah, there is in Article 8, unfortunately, the thing I sent you today, I don't imagine you've all got your email, but the tax estimate from the county came in slightly elevated, and we thought we were doing a good thing by taking our recommendation from 430,000 down to 420, which seemed logical. Well, in today's numbers, it's probably going to be back up to about another $2,500. So, if you wish, And if this estimate holds, and because the county budget hasn't gone to the budget committee yet, I would suggest we bump that up to 425. Because the estimate right now is about just under 423,000 in total.
Why go into it with a deficit possibility? So.
Well, then we need I need a motion to that effect then.
I'll move that we switch the 420,000 on Article 8 in the county budget to 425,000.
Which, okay,
Now, what does this, well,
it's $2,500, I mean, it's $5,000 more, right?
Yes.
And we don't have a choice, you're gonna pay the
Right.
county tax anyway. So,
there's no ramifications because we're changing a number in the warrant at this point.
I don't think so.
Nothing other than we just have to.
We're not adding a money article, all we're doing is adjusting.
Adjusting.
I mean, we could leave it at 420. We're
No, I'd
gonna
rather
we're gonna
see it
pay
fixed
whatever
if-
the bill is, right?
Was there a second?
Anyway,
Yes.
the motion's
It
there.
was moved and seconded, both these gentlemen on
Okay.
my left here. All those in favor? Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
There's a change on a number in Article 11 on page 4.
Yep.
Interest, salt shed, dump, truck, loop, ambulance.
You approved the loader backhoe amount 2 weeks ago to go from 15,000 to 25,000 on the annual payment for
Yeah.
principal, and that's in here properly. Christina caught me, I was making a correction to that 15,880 of interest toward the bottom of Article 11, and she said she didn't think that the board actually voted to include that $1,000 change there, so that's why that's in red.
Okay, so we need an affirmative vote to add that
Yes.
$1,000. So I'd entertain a motion on that. It's purely the interest on the
So
bond, right?
moved.
Yes.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Thank you.
What else changed?
That was it. Board of Selectmen recommendation on page 32. On Article
Public
32.
Works, started with physical approval of town administrative public funds. This is the emergency roads,
Yep. Article 32.
which typically the standard article.
Sorry,
So,
what was your reference again?
Article 32
Uh,
on page 12. This is the,
Okay.
this was the safety reasons we can expend town funds on a private road if it's
Oh, from the emergency.
for an emergency only situation with the Public Works Director, the Fire Chief, Deputy, and the Town Administrators. So that's an ought to pass.
Yeah,
Everybody
yes.
agree?
Yes.
I would take you to the next page, Article 33, just for a note, explanatory note I put there that says this total amount for 2 deputies